The invitation from my boss had arrived a week earlier, heavy cream paper with gold lettering that made it feel more serious than it probably was. A dinner party at his house, an opportunity to mingle with senior management, clients, and a few important guests. I knew attendance wasn't technically mandatory, but in our office, absence was noticed more than presence. So I bought a new suit, practiced polite conversation in my head, and promised myself I would keep things professional. On the night of the party, his house glowed like something out of a magazine. Soft lights lined the driveway, and music drifted out through the open doors. Inside, the smell of expensive food mixed with perfume and polished wood. I shook hands, smiled at familiar faces, and accepted a drink I didn't really want. Everything felt carefully arranged, including the people. Then I saw her. At first, my brain refused to make sense of it. She was standing near the dining table, laughing at something one of the managers said. Her head tilted in that exact way I remembered too well. Same calm confidence, same easy smile. My ex-girlfriend. The woman I hadn't spoken to in over 2 years. The woman who knew me before promotions, before titles, before I learned how to sound confident even when I wasn't. For a moment the room seemed to shrink. I felt the old instinct to turn around, to disappear into the crowd, but it was too late. Someone called my name and she looked up. Our eyes met. There was a brief flicker of surprise on her face, quickly replaced by something polite and unreadable. People began to notice. Whispers passed from one small group to another. My boss glanced between us, clearly confused. Someone asked, half-jokingly, "Do you two know each other?" The question hung in the air longer than it should have. I could feel everyone waiting for an answer that would satisfy their curiosity. Without making things awkward, my heart beat faster, but strangely I felt calm. I smiled and said, "Yes, we used to be together. A long time ago." The room went quiet for a second, the way it does when people don't know whether they're allowed to react. Then a few nervous laughs broke out. Someone nodded as if that explained everything, though it probably explained nothing. My boss raised his eyebrows, clearly surprised. But he recovered quickly and joked about how small the world could be. Dinner was announced and the moment passed, at least on the surface. We ended up seated across from each other. I avoided looking at her at first, focusing instead on my plate and the conversation around me. Talk of projects, markets, and future plans filled the space. Still, I was aware of her in a way that was impossible to ignore. The familiar sound of her laugh, the way she listened carefully when others spoke as if their words truly mattered. At one point, she leaned forward and quietly said my name. Just my name. No anger, no warmth, just acknowledgement. "It's good to see you," she said. I nodded. "You too." That was all, but it stirred memories I thought I had packed away neatly. Late-night conversations, shared dreams. The way we once planned a future that now belonged to 2 separate lives. I remembered how things ended, not with shouting or betrayal, but with the slow realization that love alone wasn't enough to keep us moving in the same direction. As the evening went on, people grew more relaxed. Glasses were refilled, voices grew louder, and the tension faded. My boss asked her how she knew one of our clients, and she explained that she worked in a related field now, one that often crossed paths with ours. She spoke confidently, clearly comfortable in this world. I felt a quiet respect for the woman she had become. At some point, someone teased me about not mentioning that I had such interesting connections. I laughed it off, but inside, I realized something important. I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't trying to rewrite the past or hide it. That relationship had shaped me, taught me things I still carried. Pretending it never existed would have felt dishonest. Later, when dessert was served and people began drifting into smaller conversations, she and I found ourselves standing near the balcony doors. The night air was cool, and the city lights shimmered in the distance. "I didn't know you worked here," she said. "I didn't know you'd be here tonight," I replied. She smiled softly. Life does that sometimes. We talked for a few minutes about safe topics, work, mutual friends we no longer saw. How strange it felt to meet like this. There was no bitterness in her voice, no regret in mine, just acceptance. Before we went back inside, she looked at me and said, "I'm glad you said what you did earlier." "What do you mean?" "When they asked if we knew each other, you didn't make it weird. You didn't pretend I was nothing." I thought about it for a second. "You were never nothing." She nodded, and for the first time that night, her smile reached her eyes. When the party finally ended, I thanked my boss and stepped out into the quiet street. As I walked to my car, I realized that the Surprise of the evening wasn't seeing my ex-girlfriend at my boss's dinner party. It was the way I handled it, the way I felt afterward. There was no longing, no desire to go back, no sense of loss. Just gratitude for what we once had and for who we had both become.